Welcome everyone. I can see you're all coming in. Thank you for sharing a wonderfully sunny evening with us. You're very dedicated. We'll just give it a few minutes while everyone's coming in. So bear with us for a couple more minutes. And oh yeah, numbers are going up, 53, 54, this is great. If you would like to say hi to your fellow colleagues on the webinar today, please do in the chat. Let us know your name and where you're from. So you could be in Bradford, you could be in Bristol, you could be in Brighton, anywhere beginning with B, A, B, C, D, E, F, or any letter of the alphabet. Let us know where you're from, and it'd be great to say hi to each other as well. That's great. We've got Ruben, Chanel from East Croydon, Ronan's in Birmingham. Very good. I'm from Redditch originally. Jamie, oh, I missed that one. Faria from Leeds, Safe Aberdeen, Nihar from Manchester, Tyler from Partridge Green, Rhea from London. Sorry if I'm saying names wrong, they're coming up really quickly. Nirupa from Singapore, fair play. I think you're in the UK as well. Callum from Aylesbury, Hemel Hempstead, Shira. Welcome everyone. Angela Peterborough. Fantastic to be seeing you all here. I'm going to give it another few seconds while we're just waiting for people to get settled. But it's so nice to see everyone and say hi. And I'm very impressed by your dedication on a very sunny evening. I'm in Bristol and it's really sunny, so fair play to be on your computer. Woody from Newcastle, hello. That's awesome. Excellent, okay. Right, I think I'm going to get going because I think we have got a pretty good number of people with us. So welcome one and all. Here we are. It's our very special Learn More webinar this evening for entry-level film talent with Warner Brothers Discovery's CrewHQ. We'll meet Rico in a moment. I'm super stoked that you've all joined us. And over the next hour, we're going to be talking about the wonderfully curated CrewHQ entry-level 7UP programme, which is based out of their fantastic studios in Leavesden. So I know that you're going to find lots of interesting information this evening, but before we kick off with the information about the programme, I'll just tell you a little bit about Creative Access and me. So I'm Mel Rodriguez. I'm the Chief Exec here at Creative Access and your host for today. My pronouns are she and her. So for those of you not already familiar with Creative Access, we are a social enterprise dedicated to providing career access and opportunities to yourselves and helping people thrive in the creative economy. And we work with employers across the piece, Leavesden and CrewHQ, just one of them, to connect with standout talent like you and offer career-long support. So do check out our website, creativeaccess.org.uk for more info, follow us on socials and connect with us to find out how else we can support your hopefully fantastic career journey. It's a particularly special session for me today because I'm actually from TV and film before I moved into running organisations, so really excited. The plan for today, I'm going to run you through what we're looking at, a few things on our agenda. We're going to be finding out in more detail about the 7UP programme, who it's for, what it's about. We're going to be finding out more about the studios, where it's based, what training you'll receive as part of the programme, the networking opportunities available, the career pathways and roles that will be available in onward moves, and further opportunities for things like the trainee programme after 7UP, which offers up to a year of paid support and placements. And really importantly, how to kind of get your application nailed for 7UP, how to set yourselves up for success, and those all important things like eligibility criteria, which you need to know about. We'd also love to hear from you and your questions, so we will try and answer as much as possible. But if there's anything that we don't cover or anything you really want to know, please put questions in the Q&A tab. I'll say that again, the Q&A tab rather than the chat. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box. So put your questions in the Q&A, not the chat, and we'll come to as many of those as we can later. I've got a few up my sleeve as well if you're feeling shy, but I suspect that you won't be. And what would be great is if you can upvote the questions from the Q&A that you like the best and we'll try to prioritise those. In terms of accessibility and housekeeping, you can also have captions enabled if you'd like. You go to the bottom of your screen and click the CC Captions button for captions. If you do have any other access needs, then please do contact one of our administrators from Creative Access in the chat, and they'll try and help you. Okay, right, I've gone on a bit, but without further ado, I'd like to meet Rico. Hello, Rico.
Hey, yeah, how you doing?
It's fantastic to see you. So, Rico Johnson Sinclair, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I am. My official title is the Skills and Training Director at CrewHQ, Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers Discovery. Sorry, excuse me. And but what I actually do on a day to day is manage CrewHQ, which is a Skills and Training Center based at the heart of studio production here in the UK for Warner Brothers. So we are based at the studio in Leavesden, which has produced films such as Barbie, Wonka, House of the Dragon seasons 1, 2, and 3. Currently, kind of setting up for the new Harry Potter series. So, really is the beating heart of production for Warner Brothers here in the UK. And so, a day to day on my job is to help below the line talent advance in their career or enter the industry. Just to demystify what that means, sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm talking through it for you. To demystify what that means, below the line is camera, lighting, sound, costume, set decoration, like production office, all of those departments are below the line, and above the line you have writer, director, producer. We don't do any of those. So if you're aiming to be a writer, director, producer in studio film, this program is less for you. I wouldn't say it's not for you because you can still work below the line and have, those experiences of what being on set is and have that fuel your career above the line. But we are specifically looking for people that want to work in below the line roles. So we're looking for our next costume designer, or we're looking for our next lighting designer, our next director of photography, so cinematographer. We're looking for our next production manager. So that's what this program is really about.
Brilliant. And it's so incredible the breadth of film content that is made out of the studios there and all the opportunities that come from it. It really is, as you said, a beating heart behind the scenes of all the films and all those brands that we know and love. Okie doke. And before we talk about the program itself, I'm interested to hear a bit about your career journey. Let's just share
Absolutely.
and care because we've both made our way up in TV and film. So maybe you could share with us some brief highlights of how you got into the work that you're doing now.
Absolutely. So my journey was like fraught with different perils actually. So I grew up in Birmingham in the Midlands, and I came out when I was 13 and left my family home when I was 16. So I was made homeless. So I've experienced homelessness 3 times in my life. And during those periods of time, it was really community that helped me kind of get to where I have, and I still feel like that to this day. When I finished college, because I was still going to college during my periods of homelessness, I then decided, I gave myself a choice of whether or not I wanted to go into forensic science or into the arts. And so I applied for forensic science for University of Birmingham, and I applied for uh, 2 courses at University of the Arts London, which, to my understanding at that time, was the best arts university in the UK. Thankfully, I got into both of those courses in University of the Arts London, and then decided that I was going to go into the arts as a career. I did 2 years, but being a student was the first time I've ever had stability, despite the fact that student loan pays you such a small amount to be able to survive. It was actually the first time I'd had that amount of money, so that stability helped me for the first year. But then in my second year, it what happened was all of the things I hadn't dealt with reared its ugly head. Had a psychotic break in my second year, but still managed to finish out my university degree. And when I graduated, I realized I couldn't afford to stay in London, so I actually moved back to Birmingham. And it was during a time where I didn't really know if I could do a full time job. I was still dealing with psychotic symptoms, so auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations. Um, and so I volunteered for 17 different arts organisations in Birmingham over the year because there was a level of flexibility that volunteering gave me that if I joined a workforce, I wouldn't have. So I was really trying to prove to myself that I could do the 9 to 5 job and work within the arts. So I did that for a year, and thankfully after that, I was given my first opportunity through the Independent Cinema Office for a program called FEDS, unfortunately named FEDS, which is Film Exhibition Distribution and Sales, and that gave me about 8 months on Flatpack Film Festival, which is a festival in Birmingham that celebrates films from all around the world from many different perspectives. And while I was there, I was having a conversation with my line manager. And so, as a black person, as a queer person, as a disabled person, I wouldn't be in the industry, and this is probably going to live longer than it intends to, but I wouldn't be in the industry if it wasn't piracy, because I was at a point in my life, and have been at a point in my life for a sustained amount of time, where I didn't have access to money to be able to go to cinema, and streaming platforms weren't a thing. So I wouldn't have found my love for film if it wasn't for piracy. And I was having this conversation, a candid conversation with my line manager at the time, and she said, you have to admit that the best way to watch a film is on the big screen. And I was like, absolutely. No distractions, like your community of film watchers seeing something on the big screen the way it was intended to be seen. But for black and global majority audiences, for queer audiences, we don't see ourselves reflected in programming in cinemas. So the only way we get access to our stories is if we go into piracy, or start streaming. And she was like, well, if it doesn't exist, why don't you just build it? And the petulant person in me said, all right, then I will. So I went on to build a queer film festival in Birmingham that prioritised the perspectives of queer, trans, and intersex people of colour. Um, I did that while holding down full-time jobs. So I worked as a campaign manager for Birmingham LGBT. I did a little work with Coventry City of Culture. I worked for a festival called Shout Festival, which was a queer arts and culture festival, all while running this festival in the background. And I was doing a Q&A for QT BIPOC film, so queer, trans, and sex people of colour centered film. And someone from the BFI came up to me after the Q&A and said, your perspectives are really interesting. Have you ever thought about producing, because you've got that skill set? And I said, no, but I'd love to. I mean, I came back to Birmingham and there was no production there, so I wasn't able to break into production. And they were like, okay, I'll introduce you to a writer director. And I was introduced to Zane Igby, who is an incredible director. And together we made Sweet Mother, which was a BFI Network back film. So I started working as a producer for BFI Shorts for a while, then did BFI short film as a writer director. And it was around like the first year of COVID, the resurgence of Black Lives Matter, and the murder of George Floyd, where I'd realized up until that point there was a certain barrier for me as a historically marginalized person to the industry. And also, I didn't want to invest my creativity into an industry that didn't feel safe enough for me to do that. So I wanted to do some work before I was able to be free and write and create. So I took a job as the race equality lead for the British Film Institute, which I did for 3 years, trying to impact anti-racism, um, and trying to impact organisations positively using anti-racism. And then I left the BFI and joined an organisation called ARTEF, which was the Anti-Racist Task Force for European Film, where I was training festivals like Berlinale on curatorial justice, where does taste come from, who has the right to tell what story, and then really kind of worked as a freelancer in that space. I'd been doing things along the sides as well, working as a wellbeing facilitator or wellbeing coordinator on set. When this job kind of reared its head, and I went for it, and I've been in the job now for a year and a half. Sorry, that was way longer than I thought it was going to
And
be.
I could ask you endless questions about every part of your journey. I'm so thrilled and honoured that you could share so truthfully and candidly quite a squiggly and difficult journey. And I'm sure that everyone on the webinar is really heartened to hear about. It takes guts, it takes bravery, and it takes a village, it takes community, and it takes effort, doesn't it, sometimes to get to where you want to be. But I salute you, and I think it's what we're here for, really, because it's not, making content's great, but actually it's not just about the content, it's about the people and the stories that we're telling, and the stories we're not telling, and who gets to tell them. So all of this, my journey is also super squiggly, but for time I won't tell everyone quite as much, but we've got lots of parallels. So I grew up in the West Mids as well, in Redditch. I don't think anyone in Redditch worked in TV that I knew of. It was Ulrika, I've just lost your camera. Hope you haven't been put off by my story.
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I just need to get some tissue.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly, go for it. I'll riff for like another minute. My journey was similar because it was there weren't any entry points that I could find in my local town. I'm mixed race. My dad's a Kenyan-born Goan man. My mum's from Essex. We had this fantastic upbringing. Eating samosas. My dad was the chairman of Edgbaston hockey team, and I had a really culturally beautiful background. But there were no creative entry points that I could find. But because I went to Edgbaston with my dad, right next door was Pebble Mill, which was this big BBC studio, so I could see it, but I didn't know how to get into it. But I had that similar kind of determination to you. So I just went up and knocked on the door and asked about work experience, and eventually got myself, in those days, an unpaid gig, which I could only do because I lived in Redditch and could travel in on the train. I'm not going to say how many years later, but it's several decades. And it's that squiggly line of people giving me opportunities, seeing potential, and helping me when there are hurdles. And I've always been so grateful for that. And really, that's what's brought me to Creative Access. So I've had a fantastic career as a TV producer. I've worked across many big, well-known titles that probably most people's parents and grandparents watch, but I don't think many people under the age of 30 watch anymore. I had an amazing time working on, your Crime Watches, your Watchdoggies, your Antiques Roadshows, all the rest. But it was up to, I felt like I wanted to do something different with my skill, because I was always more interested in the people and the stories than the content for content's sake. So that's what got me to here. So I think the message really is like, if you've got whatever you've got a passion for, find the thread, follow it, ask for support, and find your people. Anyway, and we have a great opportunity to talk about. So rather than me waxing on about my old story, let's hear a bit more about CrewHQ specifically. So we've got a short film to show about CrewHQ and the fantastic work that you do there. Laura's going to help us with the slide. Here we go.
It might not look like much now, but it takes something really special to turn this into this. Crews of thousands doing hundreds of jobs, all with amazing different skills, training, and backgrounds.
That's impossible.
Making the impossible possible. And not just here, but also here. They make Merseyside into Gotham. Turn natural history into fantasy. And even turn beaches into battlefields. You see, the truth is, it's the talent off camera that makes the magic possible. And we're here to support them. Located in the iconic Warner Brothers Studios, Leavesden, home of the industry's biggest film and TV franchises, our bespoke training center offers free training and development for crew at all levels. Work experience programs, on and off set. Careers days, increasing awareness of roles behind the camera. And we fund additional placements in all departments on productions across the country. All in support of a growing community and to inspire and welcome behind-the-scenes talent nationwide. Discover your potential.
Our hearts remain as one.
Ideas live forever.
We are CrewHQ.
Wow. I mean, that was an epic. That was an epic video. You do so much at CrewHQ. I'm so impressed. So obviously there's lots that you do the 7UP program is just one of the things you do, but that's what we're focusing on today with this application deadline fast approaching. So let's go into that. Just a quick note, actually, I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier, but we are recording this webinar. So what we'll do is put the link in our application on our website with the application details so that you can watch it again whenever you need. Yeah, 7UP. So let's look at it. What is it? Who is it for? What's it about? And how does it work? Just some questions for you there, Rico.
Absolutely, yeah. So 7UP was actually devised as a measure to address some of the gaps that we might have in some of our other programs. So we run a program that opens towards the end of the year called the trainee program, which offers a year's worth of paid employment on our productions. So you get your first credit on Barbie, Wonka, House of the Dragon, Supergirl, etc. However, we recognize that because of our reputation as Warner Brothers Discovery, and also because of the nature of the film industry being so cloak and dagger, we were finding that a lot of the interviews that we had with people that have experienced barriers to entry, they didn't really understand that you were applying for a below the line role, or you were talking about the skills and your transferable skills that you had in other industries to be able to get an entry level role. So we wanted to create a program that addressed people that have experienced significant barriers to entry. It was originally a program that was for Black and global majority people, working class and low income people, and disabled people, because statistically they are the least represented in our industry. But we had an opportunity to open it up with some of the kind of intersectional identities that would have been missed, or the LGBTQIA plus community, which is equally represented but still faces significant barriers. So we made some alignments. So the 7UP program, the way it works is it works in two levels. The one that's not applicable to people on this call is the 7UP existing crew. So we put out applications for 7 people that have been working in the industry for 5 years and have had 2 credits at the same level, specifically people that have experienced significant barriers to advancement in the industry. And we give those 4 weeks of shadowing for our HODs, which are the heads of department. So the head of costume, or the head of set decoration, or the head of the production office, they get to shadow them for 4 weeks. And in exchange, we give them mentoring training so they can nurture the 7 early entrants, which I guess will be made up of people from this room. 7 early entrants who get 4 weeks of work experience across different departments of interest to them. And that will be a kind of a precursor to the training program. The best thing about the 7UP program is if you get onto the program, you'll have a week with us where you'll learn about set etiquette, you'll learn about how to use radios, you'll learn about CV and interview skills. You'll also kind of hear from like confidence builders, because you'll have to advocate for yourself on set, and you'll have your 4 weeks of work experience. But then after that 4 weeks of work experience, you get the opportunity to skip the application process and go straight through to interview for the trainee program, which offers a year of employment. So to put that into perspective, we have between like 2,700 and 1,300 applicants for the trainee program every year, and we take 80 through to interview. So it gives you a ticket to skip the 1,700 and go straight through to the final 80, where you'll be interviewed. And hopefully, if we've done our jobs correctly, the people that have experienced significant barriers that have been through this program, armed with CV skills and interview skills that we've given them, will perform well enough in their interviews to actually get a place on the trainee program. So we really do that with a sense of love. I often think that when you see Warner Brothers Discovery as an organization, it's a machine, it's a business. But like I said before, CrewHQ is the beating heart of Warner Brothers Discovery. The things that we do are generally care centered. So we really do care about nurturing the next generation of talent. Most of the program is bespoke to the individuals. Once we actually get a sense of who you are and what you actually want from your experience, you'll be looped into a process that is kind of curated for you, and you'll get a sense of what it's like, the scale of production on studio compared to independent. So on an independent film, you'll probably be looking at productions for a feature film that have about 70 people working on a film, 70 people working on a film. When you get to studio side, House of the Dragon, one episode you'll have 1,300 people working on one episode. So the scale of it is completely different. The scale of the sets, the imagination you need to have, the management skills you need to have, the understanding of your role is completely different from independent, where you'll be working across various different roles. So we really want to build the next generation. We want to build an equitable and sustainable pipeline into entry for studio film, and that's our ambition. So that is my plea to you to actually apply. Don't sit there and think, am I good enough to be in this opportunity? Am I going to have issues when I actually come face to face with it? Like, yes, the working days are hard and long, and yes, it is a difficult industry to be a part of. But if you love film, if you really passionately love film, then we will do everything in our gift to make sure that you have a wonderful time and a successful career, because that's what we're about.
Fantastic, and I love that. I love that marrying of that kind of buddying up with the kind of the crew that are kind of a bit further up in their career journey. So you're learning as you go. There's that cross pollination. You're building a network. You're building peer network as well, who you can share with, collaborate with, and you're getting those nuts and bolts, interpersonal skills, which really are the glue that help you succeed in the career. Because actually, yes, technical skill, yes, storytelling skill is critical, but you need to be a team player, a people person, a problem solver, a troubleshooter. Sometimes you need a sixth sense, don't you? And all those things get refined and developed when you have that type of wraparound support. So super important. Thank you for doing this. So some nuts and bolts. So if we go back a slide, actually, just to confirm the criteria. So the previous slide, just the details about kind of age, etc. So applicants must be over 18. You must have the right to live and work in the UK, so please do check if you're unsure. And this is interesting, and to your point, Rico, under a year of experience in film. So you're not looking for people who've already got that foothold. You're looking for that. This is your grassroots. Let's get you in. Yeah.
And actually, the interesting thing about and this is a good tip for anyone listening who's going to apply for this program. The more you talk about your experience in film, the less likely you are to get the opportunity, because we're looking at people that haven't had the opportunity, that have experienced that significant barrier. If in your application you're detailing several films you've been on at Netflix or Amazon, but you've had less than a year of experience, we would look at that application and say, well, surely if you've been on production on Netflix and you've been on production on Amazon, you have the networks to be able to drive that forward. You're already well on your way compared to the people that we're actually trying to serve.
Yeah.
Equally, the more you talk about your film experience, the harder it is, especially if you're talking about above the line experience. So if you're talking about when you've been a writer or you've been a director or a producer, because when you're coming in at entry level, the job will be varied and you'll be learning a lot, but largely it's having that degree of subordination, because what's expected of you is making teas and coffees, like handling paperwork, schedules, etc., while you learn the ropes. And it's harder to do that with someone who has experienced the joys of being a writer, director, producer, and being in the driver's seat. So it actually works against you. The best thing you can do is talk about your transferable skills. Like, have you worked at a coffee shop or in an office? Because those are really great skills to bring to film production. Are you great with people? Are you great? Have you done customer service? Then that would be great for the AD department. Do you have like a job in a coffee shop and then part-time you pattern cut and create your own clothes, but you want to work in the costume department? That's an excellent application. Do you know what I mean? So evidence why you want to work in the department or the area that you want to work in. We separated the application into 3 sections. So in the application, it asks you whether you're like arty or creative, whether you're logical or whether you're techie. If you're logical, largely you'll fit into the production office, accounts, the AD department, because they're all logistical departments. If you're artistic or creative, you'll largely fit into like set decoration, costume, props, because those are about creation. And then if you're techie, it's largely camera, lighting, sound. So really think about the way in which your previous experience and your interests marry to where you want to be on this opportunity.
Okay. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know, do you? So you don't know yet which of those types of roles might be a real passion or fit for you. So am I right in thinking you don't have to have specified a specific department?
Not all, not all, but like I think that you don't have to know what department you want to work in. You don't have to know what role you want to work in. But I think a good understanding of your interests, because it's about you as a person. So, like if you're writing an application saying like, I don't know what department I want to work in, and I don't really know what my strengths are, probably isn't a good application. But saying I don't know what department I want to work in, but I know that I'm really good at analytical skills. I know that I'm really good at organizational skills. I know that, so that would be a good application, because this program is to get you the information of what department you want to work in. Because when you get to the trainee program, you are expected to choose. So
Yeah.
you're expected to choose what department you want to, and this is a precursor to that program.
Yeah. What I'm going to do, Rico, is there's a couple of related questions that have come in as we've been talking. So let's deal with those now, right? Because they're kind of on this theme. So so hopefully, I think so. Next year's question: how much experience is good for this program? I think we've answered that, because it's about your previous translatable experiences, the other things you've done in your life, your passions, your skills that will bring you into any of the roles that you might get on the film set in the below the line roles. Anonymous attendee has said, it says under a year of experience in film, but does not clarify if international experience is counted. Would you count international experience as having had a,
like, it depends on the scale. If you've worked internationally on self-funded films, then we'd probably consider it. But if you've worked internationally for, Hotstar, or kind of or big production companies, or streamers out internationally, then we wouldn't, because your level of experience would be too high and incomparable to the other people that we'd bring on this course. So but that's not to say that would be the same if we were talking about the trainee program. So my advice to you would be, if you've got international experience but you don't have any UK experience, and you want to start at entry level, then apply for the trainee program, not the 7UP program.
That's great. There are different routes, right? So find the route that's right for you. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and related to that, somebody says, is it a good idea to mention that you completed film school, but you've not had any experience of actually working on any films yet?
Yes, I mean, it really doesn't matter if, to put that in a nicer way, your experience in film school doesn't necessarily translate to experience in the film industry. I think with the kind of education to production pipeline, what we often see is film schools teach you how to be a writer, director, producer. They teach you how to be the leader of your department. And while that helps with your advancement, say, for example, instead of having to wait 10 years to be a head of department, you'll probably do it in 7 or maybe even 6. It doesn't help you when you're coming into entry if you haven't had on-set experience. So do say, you went to film school, but really articulate you went to film school, but you haven't had any on-set experience, and it won't work against you. It won't work for you. Either way, it won't help or hinder your application, as long as you've had less than a year on production.
Okay, great. What I'm hearing from you is passion, potential, related translatory experiences, but not a lengthy time in industry doing the thing.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that kind of, I just got one last caveat though. Someone asking about experience working in TV and film marketing. So kind of an adjacent discipline.
No, we're specifically looking for people that have had less than a year's worth of experience on production. So if you've worked in another area of the business, it's not film production, so you still be eligible.
Thank you. I love it. The devil is always in the detail. Okay, so let's move on and ask a few more questions. So if we move on with the slides, thanks, Laura. So we've answered quite a few of these questions. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of how the application process is going to work. So on the slide here, we've got some detail about it goes via the website. There's an expression of interest, cover letter and CV, and there's questions there to help us understand why you're applying. Anything else you want to add there, Rico, in terms of what is happening in the application process, what people need to think about when they're filling that in?
Sorry. Yes, absolutely. So I'm really looking for, we as a team are really looking for your expression of passion for the industry. Oh gosh, sorry.
You're soldering on, honestly.
Passion for passion for for film and high end TV. We want to see that you're passionate about the industry you're about to join. The industry is a wonderful place. You're literally building dreams, but it's also hard work. So it's hard to sustain that if you don't love the medium that you're creating. Also, just getting a sense of what transferable skills you have, what other skills do you have in other areas that will help you progress in this industry, and being able to match your previous experience or previous experiences to the department you want to work in or the why you want to work in film is really beneficial. So that's kind of application. On our side, what happens is you submit your application, we go through the question we, and I shouldn't say this, but I am saying this because I want you all to apply and I want you all to succeed. Is the question that we use as our control question is the question that talks about your significant barriers to entry or advancement. We really do want to, and I know there's hesitance from people, especially people that have experienced historical marginalization like myself. There's hesitance for you to put, being black and global majority has seriously hindered my advancement, or I'm from a working class background, so I haven't had as much opportunity. There is a resistance to that because you don't want to be looking to be negative, but that's what we're looking for. So we use that as a control question. And as we go down those applications, we are looking through to see if people's significant barrier is significant to this program, because if not, we'd advise you to apply for the trainee program and not 7UP, because it is a program for historical marginalization or people that have experienced significant barriers to entry. Other than that, we then take those applications and we build a shortlist. The shortlist will become an even shorter list, and those will be invited to interviews where you'll be interviewed by members of my team and also members of the studio. And then after that, you will be told whether or not you've got in the program or not. The program itself, we'll invite you to the studio for a week. We'll pay for your accommodation, your travel, and all of your subsistence for that week. So there should be no cost to that opportunity for you at all, other than the cost you'd regularly have if you weren't paying for food, accommodation, and travel. We have shuttle buses to take you to and from the studio as well, so you don't have to worry about getting from your hotel to the studio. So it's all expenses paid. For that week, you'll be learning everything you need to know to succeed in your time, your 4 weeks on production. Now, I would advise you take the full 4 weeks as a 4 week chunk. However, if that doesn't work for your schedule, if you've got a job that you have, you are allowed to have 4 bankable weeks. But I would say that don't take less than a week of time. Always take them in week-long chunks. But you can bank your weeks if you want to. So you can take a week and then bank the 3 weeks until you're ready to take another week and then bank the 3 weeks. But to get the most out of this, for it to be most beneficial to you, I would recommend that you take the 4 weeks. When you take those 4 weeks, we also cover your accommodation. So if you live in Scotland, if you live in the Midlands, and you're worried about having to relocate for this 4 weeks of work experience, don't worry about it. While you're on this production, you will not have to pay for accommodation. You will have to pay for your own subsistence, but you will be paid every week at £750 a week. So that should be more than enough to cover any food, travel that you need to take. But accommodation we do cover.
Fantastic. And then let's talk about those all important onward experiences. So how this may lead to work in the future. There's no guarantee of an onward guaranteed job, is there? But this is a pathway.
Exactly. So to demystify how it all works in the back end, we have a agreement with, because we are Warner Brothers Discovery, we're centrally funded, so we're a part of the business, and we have several other parts of the business that we work with. Home Box Office, which is HBO, Warner Brothers Television, and Warner Brothers Features, and we have a deal with each of those subsidiaries, and also New Line Cinema when they come to the UK, that we have 5 trainees per production. So in an ideal world, the 7UP program, the 7 people that are selected for the 7UP program will have an opportunity to then progress to the trainee program, where you'll be supported for a year of employment on one of the productions we have coming up next year. So applications for the trainee program open up later on in the year. And then we aim to have our final selection for the trainee program the last week of November / the first week of December. And then they'll start their productions next year in January till December next year. So the point of this program, it isn't just 4 weeks of work experience, it's 4 weeks of work experience so you can figure out exactly what department you want to work in, if film is the right thing for you, and if you feel you can exist in the film industry as a historically marginalized person. Because I will say there are plenty of joys about working in the film industry, but as I'm sure we all know, it's hard out here for historically marginalized people. So really it's about understanding whether or not it's a place you want to be in. It's as much an interview process for us, for you, as it is for you, for us. So we may be interviewing you to get onto this program, but you're also spending these 4 weeks figuring out if we're a place you want to work. And then after that, we arm you with the CV skills, the interview skills. So when you're pipelined straight to interview, you should perform quite strongly in those interviews and have the confidence to, talk to Warner Brothers and say, this is a perfect opportunity for me and this is where I want to go, which will get you on the trainee program and hopefully get you that year's worth of experience, which has quite a good employability rate after the fact.
That's brilliant. And I love that there is that thoughtfulness of the onward pathways. And I love the fact this is a road testing. Is this right for me? Do I want to be here? Do I like it? You know, because it may not be for everyone. And I think we all have to be realistic about what we do and don't want to do with our lives, with our waking hours. Okay, let's move on. We've got another few clips to show. So we've also got some information here about the so we've got a little clip about the trainee program, haven't we? Which is not the thing we're talking about applying for tonight, let's be clear, but it would be the onward thing that people would get that fast track on potentially. Yeah,
absolutely, yes.
To come here and be at Warner Bros. Studios Leavesden is just insane.
It's all just super exciting, walking past all the stages and everything and seeing all the building work going on.
Really, really fantastic staff, really, really friendly faces to greet you in such a big, overwhelming studio at first.
The CrewHQ trainee program is all about creating a real pathway into production. It's very open and inclusive.
To find out that I'd got in and I was one of 20 people, it was exciting.
But the access that these guys have had to crew, to facilities, it's just awesome.
The experience I've had so far is student films and things like that. For me, it's getting that insight into what's out there. This course seems to really give an introduction into what all the different departments do.
It's kind of like a head start in the industry. It's incredible.
You're cutting through about 5 years and you're going straight into working on some of the biggest shows in the UK.
Before I started the training program, I was definitely anxious. I'm used to being on smaller scale things, nothing in the scale that Warner Brothers delivers, so I'm really excited to learn.
CrewHQ are there to support you the whole time and everything is so clear. Seeing all the different departments, you're actually kind of learning from the basics up.
They've had practical training on CV writing, interview skills, as well as key production, terminology, paperwork processes, etc. So they are as prepped as they ever could be for starting on production.
We had a session today where we did sort of interview speed dating with a lot of very senior people within our field of interest.
It was great to give advice of how I got to where I am, also what skills I look at when hiring crew members.
It makes you realise that this is actually a whole industry, that's something that I want to go into, something that hopefully I will be in the future.
I think it's such an amazing opportunity to talk to people you would normally not get to talk to if you were just starting out.
It's crazy and I never thought that I would be in this position, but I'm so grateful that I am.
Brilliant. So yeah, what a quick look there at what the onward trainee scheme looks like. So just to be clear, that's not the program that we're talking about this evening, but that could be an onward step. And you're opening, just remind me, Rika, of applications for people feel like that would be a better route for them right now, people with a bit more experience. What's the timeline for your trainees at the moment?
So we aim to recruit for the accountants part of the trainee program in late July, and then we open applications for general crew. So the reason we do accountants separately is because accountants are like gold dust in the industry. So if you do have an interest in numbers and are thinking about a career in accounts, but maybe want to do that in the film industry, I mean, your applications are like gold dust. And to try and demystify that for you a little bit also, of the 1,700 applicants that we get, probably around 50 of those applications for accounts, so the percentage of you getting into accounts is higher. However, please don't apply if you're not interested in accounts.
Yeah, but if you do love numbers, imagine all those maths lessons being worth it because you're sorting out the budget for the next big blockbuster. I mean, that's quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really get to see how it all works, how the cookie's made, if that's the right terminology, because you are seeing where all the money flows to, how much it really costs. You're working on, like, comparatively an independent film will maybe have your first independent feature film maybe have a £3-4 million budget. We're talking £350 million, and so that is really a kind of astonishing amount to keep a track of and understand exactly what goes into making a film. So if you do have an interest in numbers, please apply for the accounts program. If you don't know, you're better served applying for the general crew program. and don't think about lying on your application because it's really easy to see through people that don't want to
Yeah,
work.
get spotted, don't you? Yeah, I once went and did work experience as a dentist once and had no interest in teeth, and it was very obvious very soon that I wasn't to be. Okay, and with yeah, so with the trainees, sorry, so people should just keep a lookout for that July application for the accountants and
then
keep an eye.
September for
Yeah,
September for general crew. So that's if you want to work in camera, if you want to work in lighting, if you want to work as a grip, if you want to work as an editor, if you want to work in costume, set decoration, props, if you want to work in production office or as an AD, assistant director, or if you want to work in production office specifically. A lot of the applicants we get are from production office, want to go into production office because that can lead to a pipeline above the line. You can go into the production office and then find yourself as a producer in 20 years time. So if you have any interest in those departments, the general crew applications for the trainee program, which is the bit after this program that we're talking about today, that opens in September with the final I think between 20 and 40, who knows right now, but we will update that soon, being selected by late in this year, and the 2 weeks of training happening in the last week of November, first week of December, ready for a January start on productions next year.
Amazing. I expect I'm too experienced, but I'd love to apply. We've got about 13 minutes left. Let's talk about your podcast.
Yeah.
Very briefly, and then let's give a solid 10 minutes to all the questions that come in, because there are lots that we can answer.
Perfect.
We've got a clip actually first, haven't we? Yeah.
Do you love movies?
Oh my gosh! Please don't attack me with it.
Of course you do. But have you ever wondered what it takes to make one?
It can change the feeling of a whole scene.
All the craft, hard work and talent on and off the set, and there's so many amazing people and jobs that go into making a blockbuster or big TV series.
There's loads of extras, there's massive green screen, the magic that happens.
I'm Yinka Bikini, and from CrewHQ at the heart of Warner Brothers Discovery, this is Out of Frame, where we explore and celebrate the importance of below-the-line roles, from costume designers to photographers.
So these are all tricks of the trade.
Stunt coordinators to armourers. This is the podcast to find out just what it takes to make your favourite movies and TV shows come to life. You'll get first-hand career advice.
Find the area you want to be in and then climb.
And a look at the industry.
That was you!
Yes.
From a perspective you've never seen before. Out of Frame by CrewHQ. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
So that was the trailer for Out of Frame, which is our podcast that we shoot out of where we work in the studio. It's there to demystify those below the line roles. So for anyone that's like, what is a first AD and how is it different from a second AD? For those that are like, I want to work in production office, but I don't really understand what goes on in there. I want to work in costume, but how do I turn my fashion design degree into a career in costume? For those of you asking that question, Out of Frame is a really great resource. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spotify, and it really is there to kind of hear from senior people within Warner Brothers making costume or building. We recently had a podcast from someone that works as an armorer. So they worked as a blacksmith for half their life as a freelancer and then moved into the armory department making the swords and armor for House of the Dragon. So it really is kind of an exciting way to hear testimonies from people that have experienced the industry for a really long time and also find out where you belong.
But I love that. It's a fantastic resource. People can maybe use that for inspiration in their applications, and just, again, it's a great way to build that knowledge and enthusiasm about Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay, so we've got lots of questions. Let's crack through. There's a few we can nail really quickly, so I'm just going to hammer the quickie ones first. So I think this may be just a thing to check the applications. It says Lily just says the application questions says to answer with 150 characters. Is this a mistake? Is it meant to be 150 words? I'm guessing.
It's 150 words, sorry.
Okay,
apologies.
Thank you. We're all human. We make mistakes. It's all right. Okay, I think I know the answer to this, but let's double check. Will successful applicants be able to choose what department they work in For example, if they are set on being a cinematographer and working in the camera department. Additionally, can applicants express an interest for working on a particular production? Thank you, Sophia, for that amazing question.
So with the departments, absolutely. If you have a department in mind and you are married to that department, we'll do everything in our power to get you an experience on that department. However, for the productions, it's less likely that you'll be put on a production. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that you're on a production that you want to work on. And of course, I think the complexities happening at the moment with some of our productions specifically, I wouldn't want anyone to go on a production they'd feel uncomfortable going on. So therefore, I'm willing to make concessions in regards to that. However, it's harder for us to get you your placements if you want to dictate what production you want to go on to. I think there needs to be a certain degree of flexibility there.
Great, thank you for that. Right, now another simple one. Does post-production and editing count as below the line for these purposes?
They do, yes.
I hope so. It's all good. Right. Okay. If you are changing careers to enter film for the first time, what advice do you have to create a great application and stand out? I think we may have answered this, but can you give me like literally 2 top tips that we maybe haven't already said?
Yes, I think talk about your why. If you've had a whole entire career and you're coming to the film for the first time, then talk about why film is important to you and talk about why you haven't taken this step previously, because that's the information we want to see from your. We need to understand you to see if this opportunity is right for you. So any information that helps us understand the choices that you've made and the choices that you're making now is helpful. That would be my biggest bit of advice to you. Your application will not be discounted just because you are transferring careers later on in your life or after having a different career. We're open to everyone, so still do apply with the same passion and the same excitement, but do try and articulate why you're making the shift and why now.
Related point, there's no upper age limit, is there?
There is not, no.
Excellent, we've answered that one as well. Right, Haru says, or Haru, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, in regards to the application question, what experience are you most proud of? What kind of experience should be spoken about? For example, is it work, school, personal life, or any of them?
I think it's subjective. We're for that question, we're looking at how you evaluate the triumphs in your life and how you learn or adapt or change from them. We're again, the most of the application is trying to understand you. So if something that you're most proud of is something from your personal life, an achievement that you've made, it helps us understand that personal life is important to you, so it helps us understand you. If what you're talking about is from your career, then it helps us understand the importance of your career, and that it helps us understand you. So it's a question that can't be answered with intent. It has to be answered honestly.
Yeah, amazing. 2 quickies. Amy's asked, is it an opportunity that's running on a yearly basis? Can I apply this time next year if timing wise that's better for me?
Yes, I would say it's hard to say at the moment, but I'm definitely intending to run it every year. This is a pilot program, so we collect the data from this program to see if it works. And then if it works, we redo it as an established program. What I will say is, as an addendum, you cannot apply for the trainee program if you're in full-time education. And one of the perks of being on the 7UP program is obviously that you get to skip that application process. So if you're in education and you want to go on the trainee program, but you're going to be in uni during the time the trainee program runs, it might be better that you apply for it next year. However, if you just want the 4 weeks of work experience and you want to apply for the trainee program on your own next year, then still apply for the program if you're in education.
Okay, and obviously if you apply this year and it's not successful, you can still apply next year as well, can't you? So sometimes you've got to be in it to win it. Have a go if you feel that it would be possible for you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a punchy one. How many applicants tend to apply for this program?
This is the first time we've run it, but it looks like we'll probably get to about 1,200 applicants.
Okay. So, the competition is, it's significant, but someone is going to get one of those 7 places, and we want you to just have the best shot at doing it. And the process can also be useful for so many other things, can't it?
And then also there's so many variables within that. Like, again, that control question about your significant barrier is so important because it's what we use to kind of reduce those applications.
Great. So let's pick up on that, because I think this is something that people are really keen to just know more about. A few people are asking, can you give more detail about what counts as a significant barrier? Can we give some more example?
Yeah, so a significant barrier, I guess, for us would be a significant barrier to you. It's subjective, depending on the life you've made. But I would say the biggest barriers that I can identify objectively are societal barriers. So how has being Black and Global majority limited your experiences? How is being disabled and not having that visibility in below the line production? Like if you're, a wheelchair user that wants to work in camera, that isn't normally something that's visible. So if you have an interest in that, I want to hear about the barriers that you've faced getting into industry, because that's something we might be able to accommodate. So like I want to hear about what you see as a significant barrier to industry, and we use that as a control question. Yeah, that's my answer.
We're cracking through them. There's still so many, they keep coming. Right. Okay.
Just to pick up on Oliver's point, if you want to work in scripts, this isn't the program for you, because below the line don't tend to work on script.
I was just about to, I thought we may have answered that indirectly, but yeah, thank you, Oliver, for getting us to confirm. It's really important. Ellie's asking about, is it suitable for art department?
Yes, art department is below the line. So anything that isn't, if you're not a writer, if you're not a director, if you're not a producer, and if you're not on-screen talent or stunts, everything else is considered below the line.
Rico, do you have a description of below the line somewhere around this application form if people want to check?
We do, yeah, but it is just anyone that's not a writer, director, producer, or on-screen talent. If you're not an actor, if you're not a writer, if you're not a producer, you're not a director, everything else is included.
Everything else. Great. Okay, Tyler's asking about CVs. Is there a page limit to the CV?
No, but I would also say that 2 pages is probably a good amount for a CV. Again, this is an entry-level program, so write in your CV what's relevant to this role.
Okay, so next question. Will having a few weeks of work experience rather than work count against you, rather than no experience at all?
No, not at all. Like I said, it's under a year, so if you've got a couple of years of work experience on a film, then that won't work against you at all, because you've still got less than a year of film production. And if you've got 2 weeks of work experience in a different industry, that helps your application, because like I said, we're looking for those transferable skills.
Yeah. So again, somebody who's worked voluntarily on short films. So again, that wouldn't count as being in the sector doing work, right?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody has credits as a child actor but hasn't been involved in the film industry. Again,
no,
they're good.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
Great. Cracking through these. We've got all of 2 minutes left. I'm just trying to get to the ones of different topics that we haven't covered at all. We talked about the upper age. There's no upper age limit. Somebody worked as a camera. Someone's worked as a trainee camera technician at a rental house.
Yeah, no, I mean that's still not production. So I mean,
Yeah.
all that shows is that you're really passionate about cameras. So if you're going to go into the camera department, I'd still say apply. Yeah.
I think all of this is telling me you've got the raw material. That's that adjacent experience you've been building, but you're not in yet. So
absolutely. If you've worked on a BFI funded short film, if you've worked on a kind of a Netflix feature, if you've worked on a Disney feature, even if you've worked like as a entry level role as a trainee, this specific program probably isn't for you. But if you've worked on self-funded shorts, if you've worked on like your friend's shorts, if you've volunteered your time and it's less than a year, this program is absolutely for you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the trainee program versus the 7UP program, just to create the clear blue water between them. Someone's asking, what is the difference between this and the year-long trainee program if they're both for people with no experience? Is this one just specifically for people from marginalised groups? And the other one more applicants aggregate?
This program is specifically for people that have experienced significant barriers to entry. Yeah. So we are the reason 7UP exists is because what we recognise is systemic issues within society create barriers for people to get onto our programs. So we're trying to mitigate that by giving a little bit more of a kind of a view into the industry for those that haven't had experiences. So if I give one example, and this isn't the only example, but working class and low income people that have no ties to film production how are we supposed to expect working class and low income people to know what a DIT is, or what an editor is, or what the function of that is in a role? So when we ask that in the trainee program, when we ask where do you want to work, obviously if you're saying, well, I don't know, but I've heard about the role writer, I've heard about the role director, I've heard about the role producer, but I'm not really sure, that actually works against you in the trainee program. So this is a precursor to that, to be able to demystify what working on production is actually like.
Okay, thank you. And I think the message is read the information on the application pack, have a look at the trainee role as well, think critically about yourself, where you're at, where you want to be at, and make a choice about which is right for you. Okie doke, we're out of time, but there's a few things, just technical things. So somebody has already done an application and did the 150 characters, not words. Can they reapply, or is it a one shot only?
If you reach out to Creative Access and tell me what your name is, then reapply and I'll delete your duplicate.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you, I'm just trying to think, Laura or Jasmine on my team who are on the call, if you can share the best way to get in touch with us, that would be great. Maybe put it in the chat. These are the CrewHQ socials as well on the screen. Okay, we have run out of time. There are a few questions we didn't get to, but we have answered, I think, broadly all the subject matter that was coming up. If anyone has a question and they're still unsure about something, please also do send it to us at Creative Access, and we can either ask Rico if we can put some more Q&As on the website, or we can see whether we can answer them some other way. But I appreciate there's a lot, it's a lot to take in, and I hope that we've answered as much as we can. And I'm mindful that it's still a beautiful night and we all need to go and get some vitamin D. So I just want to say thank you to the incredible Rico Johnson-Sinclair. You're a legend. It's been so great spending time with you, and all my team behind the scenes, Laura Turner-Blake and Jasmine Barobi-Shenton, for really pulling out the stops to make this happen. Thank you, everyone. I would heartily encourage everyone who's been on this webinar to fill out our feedback form, because that helps us do stuff better. So we have a QR code link that's on the screen now. Scan it if you can. We'll send the link around as well. But the feedback form is a great way to tell us at Creative Access what you liked, what we could do differently, what you want more of. And you can, tell me and Rico what you thought of our fashion sense if you want. I don't mind. But tell us about your experience of the webinar, and we want to continue to support you in the best way we can. Good luck, everyone. Go for it. Just go for it. Have a ball. Do it, because you never know. And I'm sure that even if this isn't the right opportunity, there will be many others, and you just need to keep showing up and putting yourself in front of the decision makers like Rico, because the shots are there and you have to take them. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Thanks, Rico.
Bye.
Bye-bye.